Sunday shake up, you make my yo wake up. Si maman shake up, kage, buve, mande, oh, et tout pour me shake up. Shake up c'est un nouveau shake up, je dans toute boutique, dans toute maquette, à prix PI. Infoline, 954 706 02 21. Ou bien tapez 407 864 23 78. Chérie, si vous pas me shake up, on pas shake vous. Ma chérie, maman, game n'a dit ou? Tout le monde va shake up.
Bonsoir, avec nous sur Combat Magazine, c'est Kenny Cenaat du groupe Zenglen et Kenny qui parle ballon bail totalement différent avec nous aujourd'hui, qui pas gagné pour faire avec musique. Kenny n'a pas salué qui joue aujourd'hui.
Et Patrick, bonsoir. Bonsoir Patrick, nous saluons et nous saluons tout le monde qui prend le temps de parler ça que nous allons faire. Et nous pensons que ça fait longtemps que nous allons faire parler. Et c'est un réel plaisir même pour nous parler de tout et de rien, pour nous parler de politique et ça qui fait actualité dans le pays.
Bon, Kenny, nous connaissons que vous avez fait pile post sur Facebook là et en vraie élection et tout le monde a ouais koto campé. So qu'on y en a demandé qui gens que vous sentiez après résultat élection.
Bon, et avant tout, I think I have to do what's called a disclaimer. You know, des fois sur Facebook là, on connaît c'est une sorte de détente, man, côté, you know, sometimes, you know, we post bagay just for the hell of it, man, you know, but say, you know, you know, have intelligent discussions, you know, exchange ideas, because that's what I teach, by the way. My master's degree is in history, so I'm certified to teach from K to 12 in the high school, even at the college level in history. So therefore, you know, I post a lot of things just to see people's reactions and comment mon répondre advice. But after the election, Pat, you know, n'a suivre actualité, man.
Comment n'a suivre? Comment? Pour même, ça veut dire que ou pas accepter le résultat de l'élection. C'est ça, Abdim là?
Bon, pas comme dans la position pour me dire que pas accepter, but Jean républicain yo campé et malgré beaucoup viennent avec classe preuve tangible. But nous kawè ka gen ti faillite dans l'élection parce que démocrates ils étaient tout d'un coup et ils just publié, you know, mail-in ballots tout côté dans le pays malgré les républiques ont été warn the country about that. Et parce que le président pas dit pas de ça au sérieux, but il pas essayer faire rien to prevent that. Et puis, si vous regardez les gens démocrates qui fait une majorité state qui démocrate, ils pas compté mail-in ballot avant, ils ont compté mail-in ballot after the election. So, that they know what numbers they have to beat, so they're going to do whatever is in their power, at least to try to go ahead and beat that number.
Bon, let me stop you right there, parce que moi, j'ai regardé sur la télévision côté que dit que il y a deux states que c'est républicain. Gouverneur là même qui dit comme ça que c'est après comme si élection pour yo compter mail-in ballot comme si compter moun qui voté live en personne avant et puis après ça pour compter mail-in ballot.
Honnêtement pas trop au courant de ça non, but from what I know from my personal knowledge, je connais ces majorité state qui démocrate c'est ça qui était planifié depuis avant. Donc pour compter the ballots, the elections, you know, and on election day, you're going to, you know, the results on election day. And then after that, you know, to count the mail-in ballots. So, ça vient arriver là, you fait ça. Donc, on dit par exemple, on state Georgia, right? Let's say Trump is ahead or Trump has, again, one example, 40,000 votes. So, at the end of the day, so now the Democrats know, okay, guys, the number we have to beat is 40,000. So, ça, c'est une raison que vous décidez, et majorité dans yo, décider de contrôler mail-in ballot after the numbers from the election day. But from what you said, I'm not too sure. Honestly, I don't know about that.
Ok, Kenny, est-ce que démocrate ont fait coquin d'après vous-même? Est-ce que pas de doute que vous fait coquin?
Mon cher, vous connaissez, un peu l'information qui vient de nous, c'est from the news media that we watch, all of us, the ABCs, the CNNs, the Fox News. Et d'après ça que vous reportez, there's a lot of discrepancies parce que il y a un argument qui dit que un pile dans ballot et c'est mon qui mourit déjà. and you know, Pat, not to be funny about that, that really happened to two of my brothers. Remember, my family, I'm from Delaware, but I'm not from Florida. Famille qui même frère, monsieur, nous quitté Delaware over 10, 15 years ago. And we've been voting, you know, in Florida. My brothers, they received ballots in Delaware while we live in Florida. So this is, a lot of people may think, you know, when the Republicans are using this argument that it's funny, it's not funny because this has really happened. You know, so you know, si in addresses, or moved to different states, and still receiving ballots from their previous location. So it's you know, it has happened for real.
Ok, Kenny, bon, est-ce que pendant l'heure suivre l'élection, est-ce qu'on saisit l'heure où est que Joe Biden gagne?
Mon cher, honnêtement, j'ai étonné. Yes, I was surprised because, you know, white America, c'est pas un bagage ou qu'à trust. Parce que white America t'a été, you know, solidaire ensemble avec Trump, you know, parce que, you know, especially you have I guess an African American / Asian woman as vice president, but see, white America would never, you know, allow that to happen. Especially we just had 8 years of Obama. So, but see, that was one of the main things. But see, you know, the strong southern states like Mississippi, Alabama, even Georgia. But see, that's a big no-no for them. But I was wrong.
Est-ce que vous pas penser que Trump t'est peut-être turn off un pile quote-unquote white, comme si mettait filles alors? Parce que les garçons semblent plus à voter pour monsieur que filles. The moms, the soccer moms and all, suburban moms.
Bah c'est les balancer, man. Bah c'est les balancer parce qu'au contraire, Trump feeds a lot to his base. You know, et base Trump yo fidèle à monsieur. Trump met n'importe salvli et agit dans n'importe façon. You know, his base is loyal to him. Et basically, when we talk about white America, we're talking about also the Christian base, right? So, by Christian, they still with him, you know. So, Bible said he turned them off, you know. That's what I said. I was surprised, but the majority now was going to stick with him. But Democrats, there's no façon to go around it.
Ou pas mettre le comme ça, Kenny. Ok, Kenny. Pour qui ça ou aimez Donald Trump et pour qui ça que peut-être I'm assuming que vous votez pour lui comme président?
No, well, I guess of course voting is personal, but no, I did not vote for Donald Trump, nor did I vote for Joe Biden. I voted third party this year.
Oh,
but moi-même to vote for either of them. You know.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because Trump has said a lot of things, man. You know, even if we're honest with ourselves, I think, in my opinion, see Trump to keep his mouth shut. He would have been a very good president if he just acted, if he just did all the things that he promised to do. You know, he would have been a very good president. But you know, his mouth, the fact that he can't keep his mouth shut, you know, that turned off a lot of people. And Joe Biden, I don't see it in me to vote for a person who broke a lot of Black families, man, because I teach those kind of kids. I teach a lot of students with no father figure in the house, and I see how it is. And in a lot of that, there are remnants of what Joe Biden did in his crime bill in 1994, 1993, if I'm not mistaken. So I didn't have it in me to do that. You know, it's like you're asking a Jew to applaud having a Hitler's family or Hitler's descendant as their new leader, as their new president that killed, you know, a lot of their families or destroyed their families. I I didn't have that in me to do that.
OK, est-ce que vous pensez que, do you think que, qui j'aime pas dire ça, que parce que Joe Biden était vice-président, Barack Obama, so qu'on y a vient comme si, il vient jouer un pile et African Americans black, comme si il vient marcher avec peut-être ça.
Yeah, that plays a role. That plays a role in Magnab Disatu. Trump had one of the biggest turnout in minority votes. You know,
For Republican.
Yeah, a lot of you know, Hispanics, especially in South Florida, which was very surprising. You know, a lot of them voted Trump despite of all of his rhetorics. But yeah, a lot of African Americans. I think the vote for African Americans actually was split, because Trump had a very decent amount of African American voting for him, along with Democrats at the same time, who got a lot of the black votes. So that was evenly split, in my opinion.
OK. Nous faut parler politique là avec Kenny Cenaat du groupe Zenglen. Kenny, et Trump décidé que les papes font pas côté lié et so comme 21 janvier, is it 20th?
January 20th. Yeah.
Est-ce que c'est râler ou pas râler monsieur dehors dans White House ça pour le bail White House ça ou bien ou pensez qu'on l'autre bail qu'a fait?
Bon, avant de faire si c'est le cas, si in fact, you know, because at the end of the day, pas grand qui concrétisé pour Joe Biden, right? Because the electoral college have to vote December 14th or 15th, if I'm not mistaken. So as of right now, I mean, tout le monde a dit Joe Biden is president, but there's nothing that's concrete, right? There's nothing that's finalized. But si c'est le cas, je ne pense pas c'est ça. Parce que fondation, Jean-Pays, ça est en bâti, structure est en place. Même si Trump n'a pas de call, at the end of the day, the week before, or even the couple of days before that, if in fact, you know, after, you know, everything's going through the court and he's not the winner, no, he's going to go. There's no doubt about that.
You have no doubt about that, Michel.
No. Yeah, the day before, even a couple of weeks before that, he will, you know, be let go. I mean, he will finally concede the presidency.
He might not concede the election and still be out, right? He doesn't have to concede. He always concede pour pouvoir changer.
Correct. Constitution pas dit au président obligé faire ça. I mean, at the end of the day, his 4 years is going to end on the 20th of January, which was the day that he sworn in 4 years ago. You know, I'm parler un peu l'anglais, but you know, I feel more comfortable in English around these topics. But yeah, by law, he doesn't have to do any. He doesn't even have to call Joe Biden. It's just the day of, you know, and he's gone. He's peace out. You know, there's nothing that says he has to accommodate Joe Biden, you know, to have a smooth transition. All these is, you know, protocols in a sense, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says he has to make a statement to concede both elections or the presidency. You know, if in fact he didn't win election, January 20th, a new president will be sworn in. Simple as that.
Do you see a scenario? Est-ce qu'on a un scénario comme si côté que monsieur bataille pour jusqu'à ce que lui mène dans Supreme Court et puis pour Supreme Court il y a GNB pour lui dire monsieur, okay, you won, you still president.
Bon, ça pas impossible, non? Parce que if you remember, he appointed 3 Supreme Court justices.
That's exactly why I'm saying that to you.
So already, again, that may not be the case, but you know, since there's a sense of loyalty now, he's expecting from those people that he appointed to the Supreme Court. So, on opinion, pas automatiquement, il get 3 votes in his favor from the Supreme Court. So if in fact it goes to this, you never know. You never know. But in my opinion, the gap between him and Joe Biden is too wide. I mean, unless there is a huge fraud conspiracy from the Democratic side to really overturn this on his favor, because there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way. Again, the way I see it, even the frauds that the Republicans are claiming, the evidence are not there. You know, there's no way. I don't think even the Supreme Court is going to side with him in this. There's no way.
Okay, how do you read all these celebrations that were held when they found out that Joe Biden was the president-elect? What do you read about that?
It says a lot, man. You know, malgré opinion, you know, I have a lot of reservation about all those festivities, but it says a lot about how quand pile moun vwe ki tap soufri en ba monsieur, both emotionally and mentally, parce que souvent moun yo, quand après, besides Obama, c'est la première fois un président, on l'autre président, win election, pour moun content comme ça, moun pour la rue, Mexican ou soit l'autre Hispanic group are having, black party, Haitian soti, banana, no, it means a lot. Ça montre que monsieur qui vraiment hurt a lot of people, but on the other side, I feel like what is there to rejoice over? We're talking about a president who in the 70s said that there's no need for whites to go to school with blacks. We're talking about a new president who's been, in Congress for 40 plus years and who has done more harm to the black community than help. We're talking about a guy when we were going to have a black Supreme Court justice flat out, vilify the guy over some sexual allegations, on live television. So we're talking about a president who's never been in favor of African Americans, and all of a sudden he's our savior, and we're supposed to be happy about that. I didn't see that. But they just wanted to see Trump go. A lot of things that Trump have said have been very hurtful. His rhetorics, and some of his policies. I mean, us as Haitian immigrants, nous tous gen en famille, nous peut-être qui pas gen papier, nous tous gen en famille, nous qui dans situation ça. So, pile bail que Trump dit, nous pas aimer, yo te fait nous mal, et c'est ça qui fait nous en pile là yo réjoui là yo bon l'autre président qui a monté.
OK, et en parlant de Biden, est-ce que vous pensez que c'est possible ou bien impossible que ou moun doit changer en termes de gens était avant, ou bien de ça il était pensé avant, et puis combien 10 ans après, 15 ans après, il changer? Ça vous pensez?
Oui, c'est possible, but it's like, would you ask a Jew to forgive Hitler? Would you ask, the Japanese to forgive Americans for putting them in camps during World War II? So we're the only group of people who always have to forgive. I mean, forgive is good. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but that's to tell you, if this guy was president in the 70s, black kids would not have been able to go to school with white kids. These were his words. If this guy had more power, we would not have had, Thomas Clarence as a Supreme Court justice because he voted against that. So he can change, but those facts remain. And they will never go away. Jean, comment pouvez-vous dire, bah oublier pour te songer.
OK, so si vous demandez même entre Biden avec Trump, who's the lesser of two evils in your eyes? So
Mon cher, Trump wear his KKK hoods in public. Trump, he tells you, hey, that's who I am. I mean, his attitude, his rhetoric, his words says it all.
So that makes it better?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. To me, they are both equal, man. Meanwhile, Biden, have his KKK hood in the closet. Même Malcolm X did. Malcolm X said, I have more respect for a man who tells me where he's standing, even if he's wrong, than a man who appears to be an angel, but who's nothing but a devil. So in my opinion, the guy who lets me know who he is up front, I have more respect for that guy. Instead of a guy who's behind the closet, who have his KKK hood in his closet, who can do a lot more damages than the guy who's out in the open. Because he's pretending to be something that he's not. And that's more dangerous.
Wow. Bon, Kenny, est-ce que d'accord même vous pensez qu'un pile haïtien américain ou bien est-ce que vous pensez qu'un haïtien américain qui vote pour Trump seulement pour un dossier stimulus check là? Bye la clé. En créole pour au bon.
Je pas connais et m'd'a trouvé bizarre pour mon ta voter Trump just for stimulus plan, stimulus package, ça pour 1200 dollars seulement. On a trouvé ça bizarre, man. M'bak parce que nous vivons dans un gros pays at the end of the day, chaque monde ka fait ti dégager yo, m'bak nous allons haïtien pour baisser peut-être un niveau pour y voter pour 1200 dollars, man. I hope not.
Bon. Kenny, est-ce que vous pensez que tout ça qu'a fait dans l'élection américaine là, est-ce que il pourrait comme si et tout en termes de crédibilité, est-ce que le avoir un effet sur lui?
Sous nous?
Non, et comme si sous élection américaine, the next election, bah, ça qu'a fait dans la ou bien on connaît que c'est Trump, c'est républicain, il a juste fait un pile bouille et puis that's it, next time, back to normal.
Bon, yes and no, because sous songe en 2000, between George versus Bush, c'était presque même bagarre là. In fact, that also went all the way to the Supreme Court. So c'est pas la première fois. Even in 2016 with Obama, Florida also did not have these things in order. So c'est pas la première fois. I don't think it's going to affect, how people see the United States, because at the end of the day, our election is by far, I don't want to say very accurate, but the way it is done, and the way it's done in other countries, I think so far ours is by far the most effective. So how the people will see it, or the credibility that we already have, is still going to be the same.
Ok, si on est Trump, un dictateur déguisé, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord ou pas d'accord?
Dictateur déguisé, non. Et pas gagner que Trump fait et qui t'a battu ça. Et parce que pas oublier que dans le pays ici, we have what's called separation of powers. The three branches can check on each other, right? Checks and balances. So, tout ça Trump fait, président fait le tout. Executive orders, that's nothing new. Et Trump pas fait rien en dehors de constitution anyway. So, monsieur, Trump is unorthodox. He's not your typical politician. He's not your clean type of president. Trump lead this l'idée. It's take it or leave it. That's Trump. He's what you would call a bully in high school. So, but apart from that, I don't see what would make him, a disguised dictator. He hasn't done anything out of the ordinary that wasn't done before. Again, j'aime dire tout à l'heure, et fondation politique dans le pays ici, il est bien établi. So, n'importe président qui a venu ou soit qui est allé, there isn't much you can do. You're very limited, especially when it comes to, Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. So there's nothing Trump did that disguised him as a dictator. I don't see it unless somebody can prove it to me.
Kenny Cenaat, républicain, Kenny Cenaat, démocrate. Which one?
C'est, garde côté pas de monsieur. Et, Mouché, ma ça pour balle.
Oh, Kenny, d'habitude, moun fier de qui de ça, si c'est républicain ou bien si c'est bagaille. So,
like I said, I see myself. I belong to a political party. I see myself as a Republican. Yeah.
Republican. Okay. Kenny Cenaat, pour qui ça ou c'est républicain instead of a Democrat? Qui ça qui a attiré?
If you look at the platform of the.
I créole là pour nous comprendre pour qui ça.
Okay.
You're not able to? Okay, go ahead. Anglais.
It's just hard. If you look at the platform of the Republican Party, the Republican Party believes in a lot of less government, and individual liberty, individual freedom to, in other words, if I could make this, in simple terms, is give me a job and then I'll take care of myself, right? That's the overview of the Republican Party. And of course, they're strong advocates for a tax cut for everybody. Therefore, it's going to be based on, where you are financially majority of the time, right? Because, if you on the rich side, if you have a lot of money, a tax cut is going to favor you regardless, right? And if you're a college graduate, you have a very decent job and you're making a comfortable living, that's also going to appeal to you. Not that I'm saying, people who are Democrats or low income, that's not what I'm saying at all. But these are some of the main things that attracts people to the Republican Party. And historically speaking, the Democratic Party's record when it comes to Black people, again, me as a history teacher, it pushes me away. It was the Democratic Party who forced African Americans to have their own political party in the 60s. Why? Because they were not allowing African Americans into their conventions and into their meetings. So the Democratic Party gave birth to the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. What was the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party? It was a Black political party that came out of the Democratic Party. So, I mean, today to blatantly, screaming Democrat, that would be a huge hypocrite.
So, pour qui ça que vous pensez que majority of Black Americans are attracted to the Democratic Party?
Again, this is it's a very sensitive, way of looking at it, because Black African Americans are loyal, apart from John F. Kennedy, who passed, or, Lyndon B. Johnson, who passed civil rights for African Americans. That's when the Democratic Party really started having a lot of African Americans. But anything prior to that, even, after the Civil War, majority of African Americans were under the Republican banner. So it was, John F. Kennedy with the passage of the civil rights that attracted a lot of African Americans. So I guess since then, there's a sense of loyalty to the Democratic Party, and especially with their platform of, big government services, as it relates to healthcare, as we can see, perfect example, Obamacare, with their socialist ideas. In some weird way, again, it's very sensitive. I don't want it to be misconstrued what I'm saying, but it attracts African Americans.
I take it you're not a big fan of Obamacare?
No, I wouldn't say that I'm not a big fan of it, but to everything, Pat, there's pros and cons. Under Obamacare, if you remember, Obama said, people would have been able to keep their doctors. And we know that was a far cry. That was a lie. People were not able to keep their doctors under Obamacare. But at the same time, too, a lot of people were insured under Obamacare. Right? But if you look at it at the same time, if you didn't want to be insured, let's say you opted, this is America. What if I don't want to have health care? What if I don't want that? I don't get sick. I don't want to go to the hospital. Well, under the Obamacare, the mandate was, and during income tax time, you would have to pay a fine if you're not registered for health care. But this is America, man. Why? How can you penalize people for not wanting something? You can't do that. So that's why Trump, the moment he became president, one of the first things he slashed out was that mandate from Obamacare. So there was a lot of pros and cons in Obamacare.
Kenny, est-ce que vous prêt pour d'accord que Biden, est-ce que vous prêt pour d'accord que Biden c'est président des États-Unis?
Oh, me, I have no problem with that. I mean, again, if Biden wins the election, then Biden is the president. But say, yon word moun fait pas, un peu moun focus un peu sur federal elections, right? And not the federal, we're talking about, the presidential elections. But moun yo néglige the local elections. Pour moi-même, c'est ça qui plus gen impact sur la vie moun. The local and the state, at the local and state level, right? Donc, and for example, if you own a house, right, your property tax doesn't come from the federal government. Your property tax comes from the state and local government. So your property tax is what's taking care of the schools that your kids go to. Is what's taking care of police departments and fire departments and so forth and so many other things. So a people neglige, local and state election and make a big deal out of presidential election that has very little impact in their lives in reality. And got it from George Bush to Obama, to Donald Trump. Qui someone ka di qui vraiment affecté you directly from any of those guys? Not much. But I can tell you, a lot of the things that happen at the more of a direct impact on you than the presidential elections. So me, Biden or not, I don't mind, you know, depuis monsieur gain fair and square, power to him, you know, give him a chance and see what he's going to do. But d'encourager mon yo, pay more attention to your local and state elections because pour moi-même l'opinion that's way more important than presidential elections.
C'était avec nous Kenny Cenat, El Haj Zenglen, qui t'a parlé outil politique avec Koba Magazine. Kenny, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're going to stay in touch.
Thank you, Pat. Again, I apologize, man. You know, I that's the teacher in me when it comes to those subjects. I feel more comfortable in English. So when you know, I apologize. You know,
no worries about it.
You know, it's a little bit more challenging to express myself like that in Creole. So
I understand, no problem. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Pat.
Take care.